So I just got done watching WrestleMania 42. And interesting stat here right out of the gate. Total event time, 7 hours and 26 minutes. Total match time, 2 hours, 39 minutes and 55 seconds. Less than half this show was actually wrestling. There was a lot of ads, and granted, there was like a lot of big, long entrances, but you want that. It's WrestleMania. So to break this down further, most of the matches were under 8 minutes. And if you compare that to WrestleMania 40, it had one match that was under 10 minutes. And it's like, wow, a lot of the wrestling has been drained from wrestling, but so much of it was ads now. Like, just so much of it was like ads and just all this shit. And what really bummed me out is there were so few promo packages before the match. And one of my favorite parts of wrestling are promo packages. Go watch the fucking WrestleMania 17. It's the My Way, Limp Bizkit, The Rock versus Stone Cold. Fucking incredible. Go watch Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, two placebos running up that hill. Absolutely works of art in themselves. And there was barely any. And I was thinking about it. And I think the reason there was barely any is so we could get as many advertisements in there as possible. And God, every time they bring out the fucking Slim Jim's table, I could do a whole video on Slim Jim's tables alone. Maybe I will. But yeah, I am feeling all kinds of ways about this one. So just to like get it out there, I haven't been keeping up with like WWE barely at all. I've been absorbing the Oz thing through social media osmosis. But the company creatively and just socially has been such a massive disappointment to me in the last year that I've kind of just disconnected from the product entirely. This started at last year's WrestleMania with what is, in my opinion, the worst WrestleMania main event of all time. And I've watched Psycho Sid versus Undertaker multiple times. Yeah, it just meant that I did not really want to engage with the product. And then, of course, WWE backing a horrific administration that is doing nothing but handing out pain and misery made me also not want to engage with the product. But I will come back occasionally, and I did come back for WrestleMania. It's left me feeling in a way that I have to really question like what WWE is now and what its goal as a company that creates media, like what is it actually trying to do? I've seen a fair few opinions about it, and the general consensus seems to be that night one, pretty dog shit, night two, better. And that is along the lines of what I would say here. And so look, I just want to give my opinion on what I thought this event was. I do feel like a little conflicted about covering WWE, but I also feel like if only the people who agree with it cover it, then the coverage of it becomes universally positive. So I think it is good to have dissenting voices. And I do think it is valuable to, have a critical eye on a company as big as WWE, because whether you like it or not, it is the biggest organization in the entire world when it comes to professional wrestling. And it's difficult to pretend they just don't exist. So night one, and we kicked off with I Show Speed, Logan Paul, and that other fella. The Vision against the Usos and LA Knight. This match was fine. I will even cop to say that like I find I Show Speed relatively entertaining, and this wasn't really anything amazing. It wasn't anything more than it needed to be. A pretty would have been a bit of a banger match on like a SmackDown or Raw, but as an opener for Mania, I really don't know about that. Next up, we had Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. And, this match, I think, just suffered from basically just like slamming two wrestlers together and with no real story or no real build-up, and then giving them like a hardcore stipulation, which I don't think either of these guys really specializes in. This match would have been way more brutal if you had just let them go at it in the ring and taken away the weapon stipulation, because neither of them looked particularly comfortable engaging in like the hardcore style of wrestling, and none of the spots were like particularly creative or anything like that. That said, I love both these performers, and this is one of the things that breaks my heart about WWE. They have so much talent and so much potential, and it's what they do with it that makes it such a fucking difficult company to watch sometimes. But like that said, there were some bright spots on the card. One of which was the return of Paige in the Brie and Paige versus the Irresistible Force versus Lyra and Bailey versus Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. I really liked Alexa Bliss's weird zombie butterfly costume for this. That was pretty cool. And yeah, you know what? It did hit something in me to see Charlotte come back, or to see Paige come back, and for that to be such a like nostalgic moment. And then like her bit in the ring with Charlotte was great as well. And like the match itself was fine. It was like decent fun. It was grand, but yeah, not a lot more than that, I'd say. Next up, you had Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee, and this is the first match on the card I would say like I straight up enjoyed. But at the same time, like, could have been so much better as well. Again, it suffered from a brutally short runtime, as so many of these matches did. But I guess what kind of carried it as well is you would be hard pushed to find two people more charismatic than AJ Lee or Becky Lynch, and they worked great together. AJ Lee as like Becky's kryptonite, I thought worked really, really well, and I really, really enjoyed the little like sub story they've been building between Becky Lynch and Jessica Carr, the referee, where Becky Lynch is saying that she's being cheated all the time. She can never accept that she loses. It's great ring work. I do think Becky's ring work particularly has been a bit sloppy over the last year, and there were traces of that here. I still enjoyed the match. I still thought it was good. Next up, we had Gunther versus Seth Rollins. And this was a match I was really, really looking forward to. I think these are two guys, just give them 20 minutes in the ring, let them do whatever the fuck they want, and you have an absolute banger on your hands. And that was kinda what we got. So look, here it is, and this is going to be one of many controversial opinions that I voiced during this video. For what I feel like 2 years now, I've been asking anyone to give me a compelling reason as to why I should care about Braun Breaker, and I have yet to receive an answer that satisfies me. Athletically, he's very gifted, and he does have one of the best spears I have ever seen. I might even say the best. But in terms of like a character who you can build stories on, I think he is a great look, but I've never seen any particular match or promo or anything from him that says, there is an interesting person here and you're going to want to watch this guy. He's exciting to watch. He's great for like spot fests and stuff like that. But the amount of focus like the wrestling community as well as WWE continues to put on him, I just find a bit baffling. And like, no hate to the guy at all. My favorite thing in the world is when a wrestler proves me wrong. I am a former Will Ospreay naysayer, and I have never been happier to be wrong because I think Ospreay is fantastic now. Yeah, so basically you had a Braun Breaker interference here, and it was just, I felt like really pulled what already was a decent, narrative going through the match. I mean, Seth Rollins and Gunther, that is never ever going to be bad. And so why do you throw this extra element in, complicate it? And so now all of a sudden it's not about Seth Rollins and Gunther, it's about Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. And I felt like there was so much of that this WrestleMania. There was so much interference. And I feel like Mania should be the blow off. I feel like Mania should be like a kind of like wiping the deck clean, and you kind of, whatever new storylines from it can emerge, sure. But I feel like there was so much of a non-commitment to actual winners and losers this Mania, and it was just massively frustrating. And you saw this in the next match as well, Liv Morgan versus Stephanie McCour. And big fan of both these guys. I think Liv Morgan specifically, she has improved so much in the last like 3 or 4 years, to the point now she's a great promo, she's a great character, and she's very entertaining in ring. And Stephanie McCour, I mean, she's just got it. Like, you want to talk about wrestlers with X factors, you can see it the moment she walks out. And just like, I thought this match was really, really good. I thought it was like, it's actually, I feel like a hard needle to thread when you have one character who's very imposing and one character who's not, but is being a shithead and getting away with it. But I thought Liv has really like nailed that style of wrestling, and it worked so well with Stephanie. But of course, like, you had a bunch of interference from Judgment Day, and it it made what should have felt like a blow-off match just feel like another SmackDown or Raw match. And it's really, really frustrating that this keeps happening. And then finally, oh boy, you had Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, the main event of night one. And this is really the match that I found myself just asking, like, what the fuck are we doing here? What kind of entertainment is this? So, okay, let me explain how this whole kind of thing went, because there's a bit of like backstory here for those who might not be familiar. You have Cody Rhodes, okay? I've done a 2.5-hour video on Cody Rhodes and his entire story and everything. But then you have Randy Orton. And Randy Orton was Cody Rhodes' mentor back in the day in WWE. That's not like pretend. The two are actually very close. Cody has repeatedly credited Randy over the years with showing him. You can watch a very sweet interview between them both where like they both like fucking break down crying, just thanking of each other. And that's all real, okay? And so then when I saw that Randy Orton won the Elimination Chamber, I was like, huh, really? I will say I missed a lot of the Ruthless Aggression era. I was never that into Orton. I see him as a main event guy. I don't see him as a WrestleMania main event guy. And I was surprised. But then I started thinking about it and it's like, okay, well, him and Cody do have all this history. There is a real story there. And especially with Randy Orton as this ruthless fucking serial killer, you know? He hears voices, he attacks everyone, he's not loyal. Okay, there's some interesting stuff you can do here. And they started doing it for a little bit. And then at some point, someone said, hey, you know what this long-standing narrative between these two former friends turned enemies needs? Country music singer Jelly Roll. I don't actually know if Jelly Roll is a country music singer. I think someone said that. I don't know anything about Jelly Roll, and I certainly don't care. But that's what watching this storyline has been to me. So Pat McAfee, I think, who is a former football player, but has a very popular podcast outside WWE, but inside WWE has been like a kind of commentator for a while. He also got involved, and his whole thing was, hey, wrestling is bad now because of Cody Rhodes, and I'm gonna back Randy Orton for some reason, because he'll make it good, and fuck the fans. I hate the fans, even though he's never like... He's always been a face commentator. Like, he's always been a good guy. And so I'm just kind of like trying to follow along with whatever the fuck this storyline is meant to be. I thought this match was a shit show. Okay, well, no, that's not entirely fair. I thought 2/5 of this match were a fucking shit show. So the match starts and, they both make their entrance, and then Pat McAfee, or maybe he made his entrance first, I don't really give a shit. He comes out and he's like giving the finger to the fans, and it's like, oh, what a dastardly heel. And I just think like giving the finger to the fans is like, that is the cheapest heat you can do. That is the heel equivalent of, it's great to be here in good old Oswald, New Mexico. I don't think that's a real city. I think I just made it up. But, he just... it's like he just comes out and then immediately he gets taken out. Jelly Roll puts him through a table. And when I say immediately, this took like 10 fucking minutes, and he gets the crossroads from Cody. I thought they did that, and it's like, okay, we recognize that no one wants this storyline, so we're just going to get it out of the way straight away. There was also a weird sub-narrative about the price of wrestling seat tickets for some fucking reason. That was like a major factor in the long-term Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton storyline. And like, I've watched the promos, I still can't give you a coherent answer as to why the price of WrestleMania seats factored into their story. Incidentally, I did look up the price of WrestleMania seats, and do you want to know how much a front row ticket to WrestleMania costs? $70,000. $70,000. And I look at the people in the front row, and with all due respect to these people, I'm kind of like, well, you don't look like you have $70,000, but I guess they do. I guess they do. But you know what? Like, the last time I spent $70,000 on anything, I moved into it. So then anyway, like, Pat McAfee's gone. Jelly Roll gets his moment, which very happy for that country music singer and or R&B artist and or stand-up comedian. I don't know who he fucking is. And then the match actually starts. And you know what? It's pretty fucking interesting, okay? It's like this story of Randy is hurt. And so like his back is hurt, his back is fucked up, and Cody is like attacking him. And if Cody wants to beat Randy, he has to ignore the fact that his best friend is hurt. And he has to find this ruthlessness within himself, which is the same ruthlessness that Randy has shown him. That is a narrative. That is a story. That is a genuinely interesting piece of wrestling, okay? And I just realized that my chair is very low and it made me look small. And now I'm risen up and I bet I have a bit more authority now. And so like I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, they're doing it. Like this is interesting. This is good. And so a bunch of shit happens then, and it's like I think Cody. Are they going for like a double turn here? Is Cody going to have to go heel to beat Randy? Because that's fucking interesting. Okay, now we're talking. Now we have a story going. Now I might actually tune into Monday Night Raw. Now I'm curious. And the referee gets knocked out and Pat McAfee comes back out. From here, the match just descends into nonsense bollocks where, Randy tries to beat Cody, but then he doesn't. And then he RKO's Pat. And it doesn't matter because Cody just ends up beating him fair and square. Basically, the entire story of the match just didn't matter at all. This was a shit match for as good as Randy and Cody were in like those middle 2/5 of this match. This just felt like the absolute worst of WWE, because I feel so often now what I feel like with WWE is, since the TKO buyover, it's not about storytelling anymore. It's about promotion. It's about what can we do to get the most eyes on our product right now. And even like right back at the end of WrestleMania last year, how did that storyline end? With Travis Scott. And look, guys, I'll be real with you. I thought Travis Scott was the drummer from Blink 182. It was the most depressing, sad thing. Like, it just felt like it didn't mean anything. It completely fucked up John Cena's final year. Like, that's the most damning thing I'd say about the TKO takeover. If you want to look at how badly this has all gone, look at John Cena's final year. Look at the potential that was absolutely squandered. And it's the same shit in this match. And it just wasn't good or compelling or interesting, and it made me feel like an asshole for caring. Like, that's what I'd say. It made me feel like an asshole. It made me feel like an asshole for getting invested and thinking that this was actually going to go in an interesting direction. So that's the end of WrestleMania Night 1. I thought this was a pretty dire show of wrestling. And like, just to be clear as well, let me say right now in this intermission where I'm at with AEW, because personally I thought AEW Dynasty that just went by was not a good pay-per-view. I didn't really think that any particular match hit hard, and I thought the general level of storytelling was very low. And I'd even say that about MJF versus Kenny Omega. I thought it was a good match. I thought those are two extremely talented dudes. I don't think their chemistry meshed very well, and I didn't think like they had much of a story to work off, you know what I mean? And then recently, right before Mania, Darby Allin was crowned the new AEW champion, beat MJF in a complete, like, no one saw coming, spur of the moment 2-minute match. And I know a lot of people were really high on this match. I have to be honest, I wasn't. As a big Darby Allin fan, this is a 2-minute match with no build is not how you give him the belt for the first time. This is a homegrown, I know he did indies before this. This is a homegrown like AEW talent. And I thought that his first title reign should have felt like it's Darby Allin. He takes so much damage. He absorbs. He keeps going. That's what it should have been. Not a 2-minute squash match, you know? But anyway, I do actually still care about wrestling. I promise. I am not just completely jaded and cynical here. And there was actually some stuff on WrestleMania Night 2 that I enjoyed, but Night 1, I didn't think any of the matches were particularly dreadful, but for a WrestleMania, that is damnation by faint praise. You know, WrestleMania is when I want the fucking bollocks blown off me. I want to come out being like, holy fucking shit, wrestling, everyone, wrestling. WrestleMania is so good, I can momentarily forget about what a gross company WWE can be sometimes. I would have liked that to happen. It did not. So night 2, I really have to commend WWE here. They did just the most fucking mean girl shitty ass thing right at the start of the show, where they get CM Punk and they take all his like every federation he's ever been in, and they do his entire run through wrestling, and then they just skip AEW. They're just like, and then, you know, he left wrestling in 2014 and then came back. And, you know, I'm not going to criticize it because, of course, that's what they're going to do. I'm going to tell them how they could have made it better, okay? I feel like that if they had been like 2021 to 2023, CM Punk returns to indie wrestling, that would have been so good and that would have been so funny. And I'm so like disappointed that they didn't do that, but you know, whatever. So yeah, the main event of this one was Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. And we kicked off with Omafemi versus Brock Lesnar. And Oba is the next big prospect in wrestling. And I absolutely see it. I think you only need to watch Oba come down to the ring, and immediately, it's not just that he's big. He's like, he's got a charisma. There's something about Oba that I can't help but like, and I don't know what it is. There's like, he's just got this kind of, it's not that he lacks intensity, or it's not that he doesn't feel dangerous. There's just something about him that makes me feel like he's a nice dude that I want to root for, you know? And I like his little Oba walk and all that kind of stuff. And this was his match against Brock Lesnar. Personally, I don't need to see Brock Lesnar anymore. I think we've had a lot of Brock Lesnar over the years, and his involvement in some of the grosser Vince McMahon shit. I just don't need it. And it seemed like they were saying that this is his retirement match. Sure, cool. I can't say I feel too strongly about it any which way. I know some people do, but yeah, the match was fine. It wasn't really a squash match, but it was Obafemi beating Brock. I think what I would say though is, like, for as much as like I don't particularly care about Brock at this stage in his career, he is very talented, he is very experienced, he is very skilled, and I felt like watching him next to Oba, it just showed me that Oba still has a long way to go in terms of in-ring psychology, in terms of selling, in terms of a lot of the more subtle shit that make you want to watch someone in a wrestling match. But that's okay, because he's young and he'll get there. I just think that I could come up with an award for wrestlers who are in danger of being hot-shotted too much too soon and will not be ready for it. I don't think Obafemi should be anywhere near the title picture in the next year. I think you need to teach that dude how to tell a story, how to sell a narrative through a wrestling match. And if you do that, you will have a generational prospect that WWE can rely on for a long, long time. If you launch him into the main event scene before he's ready, you have another potential Roman Reigns situation on your hands. That's just my opinion. I would love to be proved wrong. If Obafemi is in the main event of WrestleMania next year and killing it, great. If I'm right, that will suck, and I will not take any pleasure in being right. Next up, we had Penta versus Evans versus Rusev versus Dragon Lee versus Mysterio versus McDonough. This match really showed McDonough's crash test dummy-like fortitude. There were like 3 fucked up spots in this match, and McDonough was in them all. Other than that, the match was fine. Evans seems cool. I like him. I think he was good. And other than that, like, there just wasn't it's not like the match wasn't a ton of fun. It was. There was a bunch of creative spots and it was really interesting. I just feel like before, in multi-man matches, I always feel like the way you build it is you have these different narratives weaving in and out of the matches. And now it mostly just seems like tossing a bunch of guys in a blender and there's no actual story. It's just a big fun car crash. And maybe that's okay. But the thing I love about wrestling is its potential for storytelling, right? You know, like that is always the thing that I love. That's what's made me made 4 different video essays. 5? Oh my God, 5. 5 different video essays on wrestling. And it's not necessarily the like, oh, that was fucking crazy. But like, it was still a good match. The crowd was really into it. A lot of talent in this match. Still happy to see Penta in the position he is. I have been watching Penta since Lucha Underground. If you go back and watch my Paranoia Agent video from like 7 or 8 years ago, you can hear me use Penta's old theme music. Like, I love Penta and I'm glad that shit has like worked out for him. Next up, we had Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams, and I just found this match massively frustrating in that I just don't know what the fuck we're doing. Trick Williams is another guy. I hadn't really seen him a whole bunch before this, and I thought he was great. I thought that he absolutely has that X factor you want wrestlers to have when they come down the ramp, and everything about his presentation, the long trail, the rotating platform, it just felt fresh and different and great, and I thought he was like very good. Now, his wrestling style right now is very much the dude in early 20s can bounce around a lot, and he's not going to be able to rely on that forever, but he is a big prospect. However, I did not like this match. I don't know who Lil Yachty is. I'm going to say that he's a race car driver. Lil Yachty, the race car driver, was accompanying Trick Williams, and it felt like so much of the match was about Lil Yachty then, not the actual match itself. And look, I'll just say this, Lil Yachty. I don't care how many fucking Formula One you've won, all right? This is wrestling. The match itself just felt very short. It didn't really build up any story. I genuinely came out of it wondering who was meant to be the face and who was meant to be the heel. And like the face-heel dynamic, that is a line you can cross it absolutely if you know what you're doing, but when you cross it, it should feel decisive, it should feel stark, there should be like a point and contrast. This felt like WrestleMush. This just felt like, okay, but Trick Williams, the Lil Yachty just interfered on Trick Williams' behalf, and this is but he's the good guy, I think. I don't know. And then Sami Zayn attacks Lil Yachty, and I just don't know what the fuck I was meant to take from this match. Okay, like it left me completely at a loss, and it also, this kills me to say, this hurts. This actively hurts. Okay, and if you're a fan of wrestling, this is gonna hurt you as well. We have returned to pre-Bloodline Sami Zayn, is what we've done, and that breaks my heart. I've made myself sad now. Demon Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio. What an unexpected banger match. Well, okay, not unexpected, but I just didn't think this match was going to go as hard as it did, and I thought it was great. I thought this was a really, really strong match between two veterans. I feel like if there's any doubt in anyone's mind that Dominic Mysterio isn't one of the best heels in the entire business, then I have to question like how you are watching. Like his character work, his shitty fucking presentation, that awful hair and mustache, like it's great, and he's fantastic. And then you put him against like a monster heel like Demon Finn Balor, and I just thought it was a lot of fun, and it really worked. I thought Mysterio maybe got too much action in against Balor. I think Balor should have come across a little more imposing feeling. I would have liked if Dominic Mysterio constantly felt like he was trying to outrun a volcano with this match, but I still think what they did, it went well. I think both these guys worked really well with the street fight stipulation in a way that Fatu and McIntyre kind of didn't. And yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And then the penultimate event, Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. And I feel like Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill are two people who just get scrutinized to the end of the fucking earth, and I just want to have my like little rant about that first. First of all, there's been a lot made recently of how like Rhea Ripley has like lost muscle mass, and how like she's not like the big aura figure she used to be, and now her slimmer frame makes her feel lesser. And I guess what I'll say is I just think the way that we obsess over these slightest differences in female wrestlers' physiques is kind of fucking weird. Like, I think, like, personally, I think she looks... Okay, personally, it doesn't matter what I fucking think, but personally, I think that she looks great. I still think she looks like an evil witch who at any moment could either beat the shit out of you or summon one of the old ones, you know? And I thought her presentation, her outfit at the start of this match, I saw no drop in aura at all. I love Rhea. I always have. And I thought she still looks great. And like, even if she did lose some body mass, it's her fucking choice. You know, she's still making it work. She like, so whatever. And like, I know I saw going around as well that like she's dealing with some like eating disorder shit. And look, that's really fucking tough. Like, and so nothing but, you know, whatever she needs to be in that time. And I hope like she gets over that shit and lives a happy, healthy life and is just keeps wrestling at her best, because I really enjoyed this match. Second, Jade Cargill. I do think it's fucking weird that Jade Cargill has had like one title defense in like 100 days. That sucks. That said, we don't know why that is. Like, I don't know if like it's an injury thing, it's a health thing. I don't know. But what I will say is that the Jade Cargill I saw in this match was much better than the internet wrestling community had led me to believe. I thought she was genuinely fantastic this match. I thought she was a real like domineering powerhouse and really made Rhea work a different style. And I felt like both wrestlers kind of had to pull new things out of their repertoire. Now, I will say, Jade adopting the one-winged angel as her finisher, that I don't know if I appreciated, because like the one-winged angel is one of the most famous. I think it's the most famous finisher outside of WWE. Right? Of all the non-WWE finishers that are like, have a massive like cachet and like cultural significance, unless you're really into King's Road All Japan Wrestling, it's the One-Winged Angel. If you're into King's Road Wrestling, it's the Burning Hammer or Tiger Driver 96 / enhanced Tiger Driver Super. Never mind, it's fine. But yeah, other than that, I genuinely just thought this was a banger match. This was my favorite match of the entire event up till now. I continue to think the way that we obsess over and discuss female wrestlers sometimes is kind of fucking strange, but I know that me saying that is going to change dick all. So let's move on. Main event, night 2, Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. I had extremely mixed feelings about this match going in. I felt like the build to this match has felt very muted. It wasn't really what I was expecting, and I was excited to see Reigns versus Punk. It's tricky because I feel very conflicted about them both. I am a huge former CM Punk supporter, and then like Roman Reigns, like fucking don't want to get into it, but I wish that I know people are going to go fucking mad, but it was such a bummer to see him go on about the Trump shit, and you see how that administration's gone, and I don't want to be talking about this. I don't want to have to bring this shit up in wrestling, but like that's what happens when you attach yourself publicly to a figure like this, and it was just massively disappointing. And to the people being like, how do you feel about the Roman Reigns video you made now? Bad. I feel bad about it. Thank you for asking. But this match, so there wasn't like, I feel like the build wasn't really there. I feel like whenever CM Punk does in any way a coherent promo now, people are like, pipe bomb, he did a pipe bomb, holy shit. And it's like, I watch him and it's CM Punk being like, I'm CM Punk, I'm here to fight for the hardworking people of insert city here. I'm better than you and you're not very good. And it's like, okay, cool. And people always say to me, like, I mentioned this in a video before, and people were just like, yeah, but that's what cutting a promo is. And if you think that's all cutting a promo is, then I really question your actual knowledge about wrestling and what a promo can be. I'm not saying that from a shitty place, and like, I'm not trying to antagonize people. I genuinely think the promos can be so much more than that. Like, go back and watch like some of old Mick Foley's old Cactus Jack promos, not in WWE, pre-WWE, like before that. Go watch the Awakened Giant promo from him. Go watch like, go watch like some of John Cena's old shit. Watch how personal he makes it, how real he makes it. Go watch Jake the Snake. Go watch Harley Race. There's so many amazing, weird, and different ways to do a promo. And when it just is like, you're good, I'm bad, LA Knight. Like, it's like, what are we doing, I fell asleep during this match. That's not a lie. And I woke up and I rewound and I was like, holy shit, I just fell asleep during the main event of WrestleMania. And then something nearly impossible happens. They got me back in. By the end of this match, I was entertained. I thought they told a really compelling, good story. I thought the match was an absolute grind for the first 20 minutes, but then we hit the point of exhaustion in both wrestlers. And that's strange to me, because exhaustion is a storytelling tool in wrestling. And it's one of the most compelling because it's real, okay? Maybe the best example of this all time, Omega versus Okada 2. at Dominion 2017, I think it was. By the end of that match, both wrestlers are so exhausted that it becomes part of the match, and it's fucking incredible. This wasn't that. It was still good, because what you had is like this burning hatred between both these guys. And again, there's a history here. There's a story here. Go back and watch my Roman Reigns video to see exactly what that was. Like, Punk in real life made life for Roman Reigns very difficult by doing like this off-air radio interview where he talks about how protected Roman was. And that was a huge barrier that Roman had to climb over, and he did. And so like there was real history here, and at least at one point, real animosity. And as these guys got more tired and exhausted, I feel like you felt that emotion bleed into the match, and it was fucking good. It was compelling. It was a story. And then eventually you get to this moment where CM Punk, he's hit Roman with his finisher like 2 or 3 times. He does the go to sleep to Roman. Roman bounces off the ropes. Punk catches him again. He raises him up. He goes to do the go to sleep one more time, and he can't do it because he's tired. And he's tired because what Roman said about him is true. He's old. And it was a kind of powerful moment. And seeing that, I felt things. I felt emotion. And it was like, oh yeah, this is what wrestling can be. And it made me sad because I realized I hadn't felt that for the entirety of the event. There were good matches, but I mean, the highest rating I gave any of these matches was 4. I rate out of 7, just to be clear. That moment, it actually made me remember why I love wrestling, because that kind of storytelling can happen, and it's real and it's not real all at the same time. I haven't been watching a lot of wrestling, and I feel really conflicted about the product. I feel conflicted about making this video, But that moment was a reminder that, like, yeah, I love this shit. I have loved this shit my whole life, and I wish more of the event felt like that, and I wish so much was different about modern wrestling. Like, I do, because so often I find myself looking at it and being like, is this still something that I love? And a huge part of that is that I just do feel so conflicted about where WWE specifically is at, because this is a company that has been a part of my life since literally conscious memory. Like, I don't like shit talking Hulk Hogan, literal childhood hero, and it fucking sucks that things went the way they did, So yeah, in the end, I don't really know what WrestleMania 42 was. Was it an amazing Mania? Not by any stretch. Was it a disaster? Night 1 was a little bit. Night 1 was, and night 2 was better. Has it done anything to resolve anything about how I feel about WWE creatively? Not really. It reminded me of why I liked it in the past, but I just don't know. I don't know. And I guess that's kind of where this video ends. I don't know how I feel about WWE. And I think I really wanted WrestleMania 42 to give me something. And there were definitely moments. Again, you have, like, WWE has bottomless pockets and arguably the most talented roster on the planet, although, that's very debatable, and I don't think I would even agree with that. But, like, there's so much amazing performers and amazing people who I just think are incredible, who I really respect as artists. And, it just sucks. It still sucks. This is a shitty situation. But yeah. That's it. That's what I thought about WrestleMania 42. See ya.